We made power and money our God. What did you think was going to happen? We're fighting till the death to keep this dynamic going. And again, this doesn't mean that a woman who wants to step into her power and have a successful, profitable business, but what it means is not lying and deceiving and compromising yourself to do so. It's about women saying, this is what I believe in my heart to be true, that I'd like to share, and I believe that it can be successful because it's good.
Buckle up for a new episode of the S.H.E podcast, the show where we have real and raw conversations to inspire and empower you to be seen and heard so you can create balance in everything you want in your life and business. I'm your host, S.H.E, and I'm excited to walk alongside of you on this journey of being seen, heard, and empowered. Welcome to the S.H.E podcast, Be Seen, Be Heard, Be Empowered. And I'm your host, S.H.E, and welcome to the podcast. If you're new, I'm really excited to have you here. You're in for a treat today with my special guest. Her and I were on a podcast together and we just hit it off. And I'm so excited that she said yes to be here today. So without further ado, I want to introduce you and welcome Whitney Walker to the podcast. So welcome, Whitney.
Thank you, Heidi. It's great to see you.
It's great to see you. Before we start chatting, Whitney, and learning more about you, I'm just going to give everybody a little background.
Okay.
So Whitney Walker is a licensed marriage and family therapist who specializes in addiction, eating disorders, trauma, and spirituality. She also works as a recovery coach and spiritual guide. Whitney incorporates spiritual concepts into her work, including the return of the divine feminine to our world and moving from a place of fear to love, releasing self-destruction and rejection to embrace unconditional self-love and acceptance. These ideas form the concept of Women Waken, her business and vision for the future. And I know we're going to learn more about and dive into Women Waken. But Whitney, can you share with us a little bit? Can you tell us with what you do now, helping women and as a marriage and family therapist, is this something you've always wanted to do and you had a passion for, or is this a journey that you kind of were on yourself and now has led you to where you are now?
Yeah. Wow. Thanks, Heidi. So it's I'm definitely doing the work that I always dreamed of doing. In terms of ever since I was young, I really appreciated having meaningful, thoughtful conversations with people. I was really interested by what people actually were thinking and feeling, not just what they presented, not just what they told people, but what was actually going on for them. Who were they? What were they like in there? I was always very curious about people. And so from a young age, I really enjoyed one-on-one. I wasn't as much into big groups and crowds. I was always the person that wanted to sit down and spend the whole party or whatever, the recess when I was younger, with one person, getting to know them. And of course, that lends itself very well to being a therapist, right? So that's what drew me towards that, is that I wanted to know, how are you feeling? What's going on? What do you think about this? What do you feel? And so that was always a motivator. The feminine part, the really supporting women, has always been a focus. I've always really connected well with women. I always felt, again, sort of that draw, just have intimate conversations, really close emotional bonds with women, which never came naturally for me with men, because as a therapist, I talk a lot about family origins and how much that impacts individuals in their life, right? How it impacts how you behave and how you make decisions and how you end up in some not so great situations. It's really driven by your family of origins, the trauma you might have incurred, your experiences. So for me, I had a neglectful, absent father. So to me, men were very mysterious and very distant, and I always felt like they weren't interested. But my mom was very emotive, and really my brothers and I, it was like the four of us, and my dad was sort of this external figure who was just around and financed our lives. So I learned to talk deeply and emotionally with women and to be a little bit nervous about men. And not to say that men aren't wonderful, but for me, I think that our life experiences really begin to dictate and play into what we're drawn towards, right, in our work. There's a reason why you're focusing on S.H.E, right? You also are inspired by women and their capabilities, because also women are remarkable and amazing. They're strong, powerful, brilliant, resilient, creative. And the reason why that's so important is because we haven't been recognized as such, as prominently as the masculine, right? As men. Men tend to get the higher seats, the bigger roles, but women are fascinating creatures with great depth. And to me, that's the divine feminine, but we'll get into that. So yeah, I always was intrigued about getting people to really explore how they feel, to express themselves freely. But then as I got older, just something really came about where I thought, I really want to get women together. I want to bring women together and hear what do they have to say, right? Because again, we haven't had places in prominent rooms and we haven't had our voices heard. We haven't been decision makers for the most part, right? So I just became curious about that. And then I was like, well, what is it about women? What are the elements and the attributes of women that I find fascinating that I think are very valuable, right? So all these things combined created my pursuit of creating Women Waken, which was the name of it was originally just a name I had to start a website for my private practice, right? When COVID hit, I was fortunate enough to become a virtual therapist, which allowed me to be a nomadic virtual therapist. So I'm currently in Tucson, Arizona. I travel all around. I've been traveling for 4 years. This is my most recent home. It's beautiful. I'm staring at the Catalina Mountains in front of me. It's gorgeous here. So I had to start a website, and this is when I was getting all these ideas about I really want to focus my work around women. So to answer your question, I didn't know I was going to have a female focused business. It just kind of it felt like a calling. I'm very spiritual. My work is very spiritual based, and it was almost like I could feel my ancestors, other generations of women kind of bounding behind me and being like, we need this. Maybe have some focus on this. This is work that you can do. So I took a leap of faith, which was not easy because Women Waken is kind of a provocative title. It's not just like growing your seeds therapy or something more streamlined. It was kind of like, well, what does that mean? Because I was mixing spirituality with my profession, which is standard therapy, right? So I think that answers your question. But my point is, I always was drawn and had the beginnings of this work since I was young. I always wanted to help others and truly hear and connect with others. I didn't know it was going to be so female focused until about the past 5 years.
So let's talk about that a little bit because you're a marriage and family therapist. So
Yes.
how do you work with women? Are you still working with couples and families, or how
Oh,
do
yeah.
you do a little? Okay. So can
Yeah.
you tell us what that looks like?
Yeah, so I do my private practice is it's still promoted and seen as a standard therapy practice, right? So people come in for individual therapy, often to deal with trauma, deal with challenges in self-esteem and confidence. It's not everybody's aligned with the Women Awaken message, which again is sort of more finding your soul's calling, finding your voice, healing some of your wounds so you can step into your true feminine, which is that which is creative, expressive, truthful, kind to yourself and others. Most people come for standard therapy, which I adore. I think it's wonderful. I think it's an important offering that we have in the world. I think therapy is extremely valuable, obviously. So yeah, I work with a lot of couples, but I can't help all my spiritual side and all that is going to come into my work, right? We all bring our own flavor to whatever we do. You can be in sales and you can have everybody has their own approach. Not everybody is standard by the book within the box professional. You bring your own flair. So I still do stand up, but I will say this. And I know that you bring people on the show who are kind of looking to step out of their comfort zone and reach their highest dreams and goals, right? So I see therapy as sort of my runway to really taking off into my true purpose, which I think is to speak about my concepts around Women Awaken, to invite women to really step into their power in a different way, not so much individual work. But right now, it's my treasured profession that's allowed me to have the life that I do, that's allowed me to share my voice as a therapist and to help others like I always wanted to.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit, learn more about Women Waken. We touched on it and also divine femininity, right? The divine feminine. So can you tell us what Women Waken is? Because it's a community, but it's also a podcast. So can you tell us
Yeah.
about those two things? And for the women listening, who it's for and how they can become part of that community?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think describing Women Awaken, I can start with my own experience because what it really is, my keywords are heal, align, rise, right? So again, women have been told for a long time that we are less than, that we are not valuable or as valuable as others, that we aren't as smart, that we're not as capable, that we're not needed in certain places and only belong in other places, right? And when we get those messages, we start to believe it for a lot. We've been told that for hundreds of years, right? It wasn't that long ago that they were killing millions of women as witches because they just had innovative ideas, right? So we call that the wound. Some people call it the witch wound, where women still have this fear of stepping out and being seen and heard for what they think, what they believe, what they'd like to bring to the world. So for me, my healing, I had decades of healing that I had to do. I had, like I said, I had a neglectful father that created its own wounds and trauma as a child. I had a pretty dysfunctional household in general, which anyone listening, when you grow up in a dysfunctional and chaotic household, it's the foundation of your being is based on inconsistency. So you're not used to things being feeling safe and feeling comfortable and consistent. You're used to things kind of being unpredictable. And the irony is that you would think that if you grew up in that, you would actually seek out safety. But when you, whatever area and environment you grow up in starts to feel normal, it feels like home. And so you'll actually almost try to seek that out in other places, right? Things that are kind of chaotic and out of your control feel like, okay, this is familiar. This feels right. So for me, I sought out extremes, excitement. I got really quickly into drinking, partying, men, hooking up, not doing relationships, just frivolous sex and stuff like that. I developed an eating disorder because I had an insatiable desire to eat. Because I just, nothing was ever enough. Because I got this sense that I wasn't going to receive the love and care that I needed as a child. And it doesn't mean that I didn't give love and care, but it was inconsistent, right? So I just was like a bottomless pit for everything. And there's a lot of women like that. They call it the hungry ghost, is an Asian proverb where there's this ghost it's insatiable. It goes around the world eating, eating, eating because nothing, it doesn't allow anything to actually satiate it. So unless you are able to take things in and recognize how it fills you, how it feeds you, how it nurtures you, you're going to forever crave. And women in particular have this tendency, again, more than men, because for so long we were told that we were not enough. So we're never going to feel like enough, right? There's actually a beautiful book called Why Women Want, and it talks all about that. Women have so much power. We are remarkably, beautifully, exquisitely powerful beings. We create life. We bring life into this world. We literally birth life out of our freaking between our legs, right? It's wild. But yet we're told that we're not as capable and not as powerful. It's not true. So, because we haven't been able to channel our natural power and energy, we've sought it out through trying to get love, get food, get alcohol, substances, work, all these things. We try to fill ourselves with something because we're denying who our real power is. We feel we can't express it. And that's why I created Women Waken, because I realized at a certain point I really want to, because I'm a very passionate, driven person. And I was like, okay, I have all this energy. I used to put it into my eating disorder and addiction, because any woman listening who has had an eating disorder, body image issues, the amount of energy a woman can put into that could fuel a whole city. We are so powerful. And so we have to channel our energy, but we've been channeling it into addictions and disorders because we don't know where we can put it. And I believe that when women learn that they can put their creative energy into ways to change the world will change. Again, just like the women you bring on this podcast, we have ideas and they don't all have to be grandiose, but even in any single thing that a woman is contributing that's coming from her heart, because that's to me is the divine feminine. You're not so worried about being impressive and being, you are naturally, right? The women are ephemeral and beautiful, but you're thinking about what can I do from my heart to yours? What can I bring into the world that's actually going to cause greater peace, greater harmony, a greater sense of freedom and joy for other people? And I'm not again saying that all women feel this way, because the feminine is an energy, yet women, those who come into this world and are identify as females, are sort of there. It's like the yin to the yang, the battery, the plus and the minus. We are that side that's meant to bring this, and we've been denied. So now we live in a world that's completely imbalanced. Most of the energies that you will see around you are very masculine. How
Mm.
can we profit from this? Who's the most powerful in the situation? What are we going to gain from this? It's a lot of greed. It's a lot of power hungry. We've made power and money our God. And to me, the divine feminine comes in and says, but what about you? And what about me? Forget about power. Who cares about any of that if you don't value yourself? And that's what we've done. We devalue ourselves. We've made externals of the utmost importance. What do you look like? What do you have? How successful are you? And we've basically put our souls to the side. So all of this is the heart of Women Waken. It's asking us to listen to what's stirring inside of us because your soul will always call you back. The soul is calling back humanity. Right now, what we're seeing, we have so much tension, we have so much fighting. Everybody asks, why? How did we get here? How did we get here? How do you think we got here? We made power and money our God. What did you think was going to happen? We're
Right.
fighting till the death to keep this dynamic going. And again, this doesn't mean that a woman who wants to step into her power and have a successful, profitable business can't do that. It's masculine and feminine. But what it means is not lying and deceiving and compromising yourself to do so. The divine feminine women waken is about women saying, this is what I believe in my heart to be true, that I'd like to share. And I believe that it can be successful because it's coming from genuine nature. What happens right now? You go out and you present an idea to somebody, and they're like, "No, you got to change it. That's not going to make any money. Do this, do that, do this."
Right.
Basically, it doesn't look anything like what you wanted, and now you'll be famous. Look at pop stars. There's hardly a pop star that can just walk in how they are and be like, "Great, you're awesome." They're going to say, "Okay, but change this, this, this. Take off all these clothes, and then, well, it'll work." And I'm not mocking anybody. I love pop stars. I love all that stuff. But I'm just saying that if you, I feel that I've become an observer, and I look around the world and I say, huh, how did we get here? And if we don't like what we see, what would enable true change? And so again, that to me is my focus, right? We all have our different focuses, and for some reason, bringing women together and the focus on the feminine just washed over me like a wave at one point in my life, and I thought, okay, that'll be my thing. And I love talking about it, and I truly believe in the power of women, and I truly believe in the potential for change. I think a lot of people look around our world right now and we think people are just greedy and awful and nothing's ever going to change. But I don't believe that. I believe people are inherently good. We've just learned to play by a game, play a game that the rules are not aligned with the feminine.
Yeah.
If we all agreed that we don't need to compete so much, maybe we could collaborate more, that there's room for everybody at the table of prosperity, we're going to be having a much better time here, and we're going to see such great changes and so much more potential because every single human being is a creator. Yet the way our world is now, we say, no, only these people, only a few handful of people are true creators. Everybody else is just kind of like, whatever.
Right.
No, no, they're not. And especially women. And again, that's who I speak to. When I started my podcast, and so Women Awaken is my podcast, and obviously this is what I do. I just run my mouth about it because I can talk forever about
I
it.
love it.
But when I first started my podcast, I had no listeners. I started from the ground. I just started sending to friends and family. And I was getting frustrated. I was like, why are people not listening to my podcast? And I would message my friends and stuff. And then I realized like, they're not your audience. Your friends and family love you, but they might not jive with your message. You need to find people who want this message. So long story short, I got a podcasting coach. His name is Tig. He's amazing. It's called Get More Listeners. Recommend to anybody looking to start or grow their podcast. They're great. And he told me, I was like, I want to talk about this and I want to talk about this. And he said, Whitney, when you speak to everyone, you speak to no one.
Right.
And I was like, no, but I want to talk to everyone. And he was like, okay, but then it's going to fall through the cracks. So I had to get focused and I decided I'm going to speak to women, directly to women, specifically women who have the wherewithal to say, I'm ready to heal so that I can truly love myself, which allows you to come into alignment with your gifts, with like, who are you? What is it that naturally comes from you? And then rise up. Women can be phenomenally successful if they do that. If they not trying to be like anybody else. Because I also believe that that's when the world is the most interesting, beautiful place it can be is when people don't try to copy others. They let their own light shine,
Mm.
right? Their own unique gifts come out. And that's a lot about the divine feminine too, is it's asking you, who are you? What is your gift? What are your talents? Because here's the other thing women have learned to do. We learn to say, oh, I don't have any. No, I'm not that great. I'm not pretty enough and I'm not smart enough. And so like, no, I just don't worry about me. Bullshit. That's what I say. Can we swear on here?
Yes.
I call bullshit. I think every single, it's like a flower. Everybody has a beautiful flower that's meant to blossom and bloom and have its own beautiful colors. We
Yeah.
don't have to live this way where we all say, not me, not me. I'm nothing. I'm
Well,
nothing
I
special.
think there's just so much comparison out there, and I love everything you said, and there's so much to unpack. And I want to get to how you stepped into what you want because you talked about some of the trauma you've gone through, your eating disorder, and how you had to move through that and step more into the feminine, lead with the heart. I love how you phrase that, like to really clarify that, because I think people can get confused on masculine versus feminine, and we always hear we need to lean more into the feminine, and we get to create a healthy balance because we do need to be masculine at times too. We need a healthy balance, but a healthy balance of it. I was so masculine driven for a long time and still am. I'm still learning to find that feminine part because when things are in, when everything's not real, when you're the person you have to rely on and so do your kids, it's just a matter of, okay, I got to keep my nose to the grindstone and my head on straight and keep driving. But that also is also going after the money, the power, and all of that, which is what we're not. We got to lean into, am I really happy? What about me? Am I taking care of myself? Because if I can't take care of myself, I can't take care of my clients, can't take care of the business, can't take care of the kids, right? Everything else is going to fall apart. And really also finding your purpose and your happiness. And I always say when I was coaching, I would say to my clients, you get to bring fun into your business, whatever that looks like for you. Because if it feels like it's a job all the time, you're probably not going to keep it going because you have a choice as an entrepreneur. You either hit the wall and you push through or you walk away. And if you're not having fun along the way and you've lost your why and your mission, then it's going to be easier to pack it up and do something different. But I love what you were just talking about, and I want to go into with the whole thing of people saying like, oh well, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not smart enough, or I'm not worthy enough, I'm not good enough. It's that's easy for them to do, right? That they can do that, but I can't. And I think social media and just the way the world shifted with everybody putting everything out there so much more, that some people just have a block to it. I know my life is, my business is social media. It is out there. It's virtual. Same thing with yours. But I don't like putting my life out there. I don't. And I think that, and there's a lot of people that do that. You see them all the time, and we can look at them and go, I don't have the money to hire that production team. I can't speak as well as they do. I have kids, they don't have kids. We can find all these excuses, but at the end of the day, like you said, every one of us is like a flower, a beautiful being that is meant to blossom and bloom in your time and based on your gifts. And you don't need to compare yourself to others because somebody that's out there chapter 200 doesn't mean you're chapter 2 that you're behind. You're right where you're supposed to be, and you will get there in that time. And maybe your chapter 2 only goes to chapter 20 for some reason. Maybe your chapter 20 is their chapter 200. We don't know, but we don't need to compare ourselves to others because we're on different paths. And I love the path that you're on. So I want to learn more about what made you become a nomad. Was like, how did this happen? And did you have fear stepping into that new unknown way of life?
Yeah. Well, so this actually helps to answer two questions. So you were kind of alluding earlier to how did you get to a place where you overcame these barriers, these chains that held you back, right? And then how did I become nomadic? So again, I'm intuitive. I tend to go based on guidance. And I will say I have the luxury. I'm a single woman and I have been for the most part. I've dated here and there, but I've been very independent my whole life. And like I said, have some issues with men. So I feel more comfortable and natural when it's just me. So one of my life lessons or things that I'm learning is how do you learn to be yourself and share life with another, right? Because I can do myself all day long, everything by myself. But I've truly come to realize that life isn't about learning how to live alone. We're meant to, I mean, that's the whole thing about Women Waken. That's the whole thing about the divine feminine. We're all together. It's about community rather than fierce independence, which is much more masculine, right? Again, there's a place for masculine. We want to learn our own abilities and to be independent. We don't want to be dependent, right? That's another challenge women face. But for me, this lifetime is for me to learn you learn to be myself with another and combine forces and have partnership. My point is, I had the ability to follow my guidance, right? So I was living in a 300 square foot studio in Palo Alto, so the Bay Area, California, for several years. Me and my dog, my dear soul pup Audrey, who just passed in June, the love of my life, we were living in this studio. It was great for many years until the pandemic hit because I was never home. I'm one of those that I always on the go. Again, I'm just like you, Heidi. I was so much more on my masculine, and I have been, which is so ironic. I think most people would look at me and been like, you're doing Women Waken. You're the most determined, ambitious. And it doesn't mean women aren't ambitious. It's like fight to get what you want, push it. I would say I was much more masculine than feminine. And I think that's also why I wanted to start Women Waken because I needed it. I needed the message that I was going to give to people. And I think anyone listening, that's what you need to look at. The gift you're meant to give to the world is the gift that you first have to give to yourself, the one that you needed when you were 10, when you were 15, when you were 30. That gift that you needed, but you had to give to yourself, and you probably went through hell to get it because that's how we usually get our gifts. That's the gift that you're meant to give to the world, is the one that you needed. And then you can say, oh, I'm so glad that this horrible thing happened to me because it made me heal and show how much courage and conviction I have. And now look what I have, this big old gift, this badge of honor that says, hey, I can help you with this. And boom, there's your business. There's your success. And that's what happened to me. And when I became nomadic was a real turning point because I was living in the studio and I realized I don't have to be here. Like I said, I used to work all the time. I would leave at 9 a.m. and come home at 9 p.m. Then the pandemic hit and boom, I was just sitting there. And then, but it allowed for my spiritual awakening because I had all this time and my neighbor happened to be spiritual. Anyways, a lot of things came to light for me. I got into crystals and meditation and past life regressions and tarot cards and all that fun stuff. And after a while, I started getting this sense that was like, you need to leave. You can't stay here anymore. You need, because I had started a virtual private practice and I kept getting this sense of like, you could do this anywhere. So why don't you? What's keeping you here? And I realized it was just habit, right? We all get used to having a home and staying there. But I've always loved to travel. And I was like, well, why don't I just go and see what happens? Just what if you just moved out and packed up your car and you and your dog just headed out onto the road and see what happens? Well, I did. And it's been 4 years now. It was actually 4 years ago, almost to the day. It was October of 2021 that I moved out of my place. And I'm in Arizona now. I left the Bay Area and drove all the way to the Grand Canyon in one day because I was so floored. I was like, let's go. Anyways, the point is, and this is a message to anyone who needs to hear it. How did I get to where I am? That trip showed me what I still had deep inside of me that needed to be seen, heard, and healed.
Mm.
I still had so much pain inside of me from years. I was bullied when I was younger. I felt neglected. I felt not seen. I felt not loved as a child. Most of us do. Sadly, it happens. I had all these things. And up here in my head, in the masculine, I was like, I can be super successful. But again, the feminine is the root system. The root system, the internal world was saying, you have a lot of parts of yourself that have been left behind. Not only left behind, but you've locked them away in a closet and you've told them to never come out. I was bullied for being ugly when I was younger, and part of myself wanted to kill that part of me. That sounds really aggressive, but I hated that part of me. I was so mad that people thought I was ugly. I was so mad that I was ugly. And that caused a lot of turmoil in my life. And on that trip, something broke open in me. And I'm telling you, I would be driving, I would sob, just sob. And I was like, something's wrong with me. It was called a dark night of the soul. I was literally purging and releasing all these emotions of like, I hate myself. Why am I like this? Nobody loves me. It was so heavy. It was so heavy. But I came back after the first year of traveling and it was like after a rainstorm. Like something had cleared. And that's when I started my podcast and everything changed. And it's still every single year I get a lot of great new stuff to work through. But anyone listening, if you're wondering, like, how do I start to heal and embrace the divine feminine? It starts with you. There within you is your soul that's saying, hi, can we talk now? Because what we do again in this masculine world, when you're too masculine, you push down your emotions. What are men told? Get over it. Just suck it up. Don't cry. You can't cry. Come on. You have shit. You got to get it done. When we do that to ourselves, it's inner child work, right? Now I'm going to get my therapy hat on, but in therapy, a very valuable tool is inner child work. where again, you go in and look at the parts of yourself that you told to shut up and stay in the closet. And you have to integrate them back and say, there is nothing wrong with you. I love you. And let's go do this.
Mm.
That's the process. There's nothing wrong with you. I love you. Let's do this together. And that's the most successful people are the ones that have embraced their full self. People can become very successful and still be completely miserable because they haven't healed. Nobody can circumnavigate the pains of self-rejection and self-hatred, no matter how much money you have. You can have a good time on your vacations and all that stuff, but and that's another part of the divine feminine, Heidi, is true experience, true sense of freedom, a true sense of joy, a true sense of gratitude and appreciation for your life because you did the work to have the inner world that can actually be present in the remarkable creation, remarkable life that you've created.
Mm.
Think about if more people were actually at peace with themselves and then achieved these great, beautiful things and then could really be present, not needing to take a substance or have certain things in a certain place to feel happy. That's hell. When I had my eating disorder and substance abuse issue, I needed to be a certain weight. I needed to binge and purge. I needed to be drunk in order to be like, okay, now I'm okay. I feel okay now. But then when all that stuff went away, I was just grasping for things, grasping. And when you're so attached to things outside of yourself, that means you're dependent on them. You're dependent for the external world to look a certain way to feel okay inside. That's the definition of hell. Because what we're meant to do is be at ease within so that the outside circumstances don't determine how we feel. Sounds like a big notion now because rarely do people do that.
Right.
Most of us feel that outside circumstances have to look a certain way. So, but before any of that, you need to sit down and have a talk with yourself and say, hey, let's talk because it's been a while, maybe forever. And I want to talk to that part of myself that feels like I'm not capable or good enough because of what I was told one time or for many years. And I think I'm ready to give myself the love that I was looking so hard for from other people. I also have, I've been single, but I've dated a ton. I've had relationships, but every single time at the end of the day, I was just looking for somebody to say, you're enough.
Mm.
Am I enough? Do you love me? Am I lovable? Can you please prove that to me? Nobody can prove that to you but yourself. And if you cannot give yourself that, you will forever live your life asking other people to affirm that for you. And it's such a sad thing. It's a sad thing. Everybody deserves to feel truly in love with themselves. And then again, just like having the life that you desire, that's when you really can find a partnership where someone's like, wow, I see you and I adore who you are. And you're like, yeah, so do I.
Yeah, and
And
it won't affect you one way or another, whether somebody affirms you and adores you or whether they don't, because
yeah,
not everybody's going to like us. Not
yes.
everybody, relationships are going to end, whether it's friendships, whether it's family, some family relationships, and so not every relationship is forever. And that's okay. And not everybody that you meet or we meet is going to like us, whether even if you like them and you feel like there's a connection there or you're clicking, that other person may not feel the same way. There's nothing, it doesn't mean that you're less than. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you did anything wrong. So I really love that you went into that because I think that's a good reminder and things that one thing I had to hear and be reminded of, and I know others need to be reminded of too, is that it starts with you. And yes, we want to feel affirmed and we want people to, we want our loved one to love us back and we want to hear that. At the same time, it shouldn't matter. It should not affect you, whether negatively or positively, because you love yourself, how good you are and your worth and your value. I really like that you said that because I think, like I said, I just think it's a good reminder and you never know. We always need to be reminded of some things. And hopefully when for those of you listening, if you needed to hear it today, Whitney just said it. You're enough and you're loved. And Whitney, you're gorgeous. So
Oh, thank
you're
you.
both inside and out. So
Yeah. And I believe that now too. And I get to enjoy it,
yeah,
because I actually feel it. But for so long, it was when anybody who was bullied or told that the way they looked was not desirable or enough, it seeps in there because you don't hear that. All you hear is like, you're not lovable and you don't matter because you
right.
don't look the way I want you to.
Yeah.
And that's devastating because again, we live in a society where, well, number one, rejection equals death, right? From our earliest days as humans, if you didn't belong in the group, you
Yeah,
got
you died.
exiled, you would die. And that's what it feels like now when we get rejected socially. Like, ugh, that person's weird, that person's unattractive, that person's not intelligent. We're like, oh no, because we live in a very conditional society again, right? Oh
Yeah.
wow, they're really impressive because they're smart and good looking and established. Like, oh, why would you even talk to them? They're not that. Very conditional. You don't have that. Okay, that's the primary thing about Women Waken is your value is inherent. Again, we made the rules of this world. We decided that you have to earn your status. You do not. And that is the divine feminine at its essence. You must know that in here is infinite worth, whether you call it God, divine, source, it's right there. And there's absolutely nothing you have to do, nothing
Yeah.
to tap in. And when more people tap into that, we let go of all the things we've been desperately holding on to that we believe we need to be of worth and value. And then it all transforms. And I also want to say that to anybody listening, because I don't like to speak as if this is easy, right? Like, oh yeah, just like yourself and you'll be fine. Telling my story, I was trying to exhibit that I had to go through hell. I had to go through the trenches. But here's what happens is that when you really allow yourself to do the deeper work, it's not like you have to keep telling yourself, you just know, right? It's the same way like if you get really sick and then a month later it's not like you have to force yourself to like, oh, I need to not feel bad. You just don't anymore, right? It's
Right.
passed through you. When you actually deal with because it's a sickness, right? That sense of not being enough, all of that, it's something that's been afflicted on you it's foreign to your system. So all you have to do is work to treat it, right? That if you have a cold, you have to take care of yourself. You have to sleep. You have to drink lots of fluids. When you have a soul sickness that you believe you're not enough, you have to nurture your little heart and say, you are, and I love you. And let's look at the things that happen. And one of the most important things with trauma work or any kind of work is you have to look at it and say, you didn't do anything wrong
Yeah.
and you didn't deserve this. And there's nothing wrong with you just because this happened to you, because that's the thing our society says. When people go through horrific things, there isn't always someone there to tell you, like, hey, that wasn't your fault,
Right.
especially if it happened in childhood. And I do a lot of work with people with childhood trauma or with children. When you are a child, you don't have the tools to say,
Right.
I'm okay. You needed your parent or somebody to say, hey, sweetie, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Are you okay? Are you safe? The amount of children who have horrific things happen to them and are told, no, that didn't happen. Go brush it off. Just keep going. And what happens, that part of you is just stuck there saying, like, then why do I feel awful? Then why
Right.
do I feel like something bad happened, that I'm bad? The world doesn't feel safe to me anymore because this happened to me and you're not going to help me. And you will walk through your life with that same lack of safety and the same lack of knowing that you are okay and that you did nothing wrong until you do this work. But I'm telling you, once you do, it's like out of a movie where the darkness just floats away and you're suddenly like, where did the sunshine come from? But here's the thing, that is a human's natural state, I believe. We're not meant to live this way. The way we live now is very dysfunctional. Our inner world it's not functioning well. A functioning thing creates beautiful results. Most of us live in a place where we feel like we have to prove our worth, or people who are so deep in their insecurities will then kind of create darkness. They're the ones that start hurting others because they need to feel better, that will manipulate and lie to others because they think that nobody cared about me. So why should I care about lying, cheating, stealing to get what I want? That's dysfunctional. It doesn't help the whole collective function well. Being at peace with yourself and believing that you're okay and that your fellow humans are okay and safe and wonderful. Again, I know this sounds very pie in the sky, but if you really look at it at a lot of logical perspective, one is dysfunctional and one's functional. What's a better way of running a company or an organization? Dysfunctionally or functionally? Functionally, you want it to be effective. You want everything to be people in the right roles and people happy where they are. Beautiful things happen. When people are struggling and can't really find their way, dysfunction just breeds distrust and unhappiness,
Right.
darkness.
Yeah. Well, I want to make sure
Okay.
that we get your information before we have to wrap because I know we're going to run
Yes.
out of time and I want to be respectful of your time. This has been amazing. We'll have to have you back, Whitney.
I'd love
So much
to.
good gold, so much gold in our conversation
Oh,
today. So thank you for your time. Can you let everybody know how they can connect with you, learn more about the podcast, Women Waken, also about your community and just how to connect with you?
yeah. Yeah. So I too have a hard time embracing social media. I don't post a lot, but I am on Instagram, and that's how I love to welcome in anybody who resonates with my message or what I'm saying. If you find me on there at Women Waken, send me a message. We can chat, we can talk. I have my podcast, Women Waken, which you can find on all platforms, which Heidi, you're going to be a guest on my show. We're going to talk all about your story and how you now help women to reach their bigger goals and to step into their own unique power and gifts, right? Because you do that and you're amazing. And it was talk about synchronicity. You and I met.
We
Just
did.
we just happened to be on this show that we both got random invites to. It's a beautiful show, but it just and we just knew we had to
Mhm.
talk. So you're gonna be on my show. And then you can also find I have my website is womenwaken.com. And those are all the ways. Come find me, come see me. I'd love to chat with you.
Awesome. And we're going to have all of Whitney's information in the show notes. So if you're driving and you don't know how to, you couldn't write that down, don't worry, we got you. But make sure you connect with Whitney. She's amazing. She's so supportive. She's got a fantastic podcast. I'm excited. I'm going to be a guest on it as well. So thank you,
Yay.
Whitney, for the invite. And yes, we met on another podcast. So it was more of a roundtable. And the
Yeah.
interesting thing that I shared on there is that I canceled or rescheduled 2 to 3 times before I could actually make the appointment because my kids, things were coming up with their schedules, with being back to school. They go to 2 different schools. Just a lot was happening. So I had to reschedule a couple of times, and it was just like meant to be that Whitney, the when I could make the appointment finally, or the conversation, Whitney was there, and it was just magic. I loved meeting her and connecting with her, and now we're going to stay connected and friends. So yeah, so you never know. Like Whitney's saying, allow things to come in, being open to receive. We didn't really talk about that, but that's part of the feminine. And that's a whole nother conversation. But it's hard to be able to receive when you're so stuck in your stuff. And I know that. So when you're going through trauma or you're not doing the deep work, it's easy to keep that area closed to be receiving because you're not trusting that somebody's giving you something in a matter of a giving nature versus a getting nature. And that's one thing I had to learn too, is being open to receive. Because when you are open to receive, even the starting with the smallest things, more abundance comes your way. And that's a lot of the feminine as well. So maybe we'll have to have you back for that conversation because I'm sure
I
you
would love to.
provide
Oh,
so much
receiving.
more on that.
Because
Yeah.
that's a fun part when you just start letting things come to you.
Yeah.
So yes, let's do it.
So, two last questions, real quick. Is there a fun
Oh.
fact about you, Whitney, that we wouldn't know by going to see you on social or checking out your website or even listening to your podcast?
Yeah. Well, the thing that's popping into my head is that I don't know if you would call it a nerd. I mean, maybe you would gather it because I'm very spiritually but I absolutely adore nature and being outdoors. And so this Friday, the first thing I found when I moved to Arizona was I went to the state park and they have night walks where park rangers will lead you and like show you different plants and different animals that come out at night.
Oh,
I'm such a sucker for just like going out and exploring all the little creatures in the woods, in nature. Total nerd for that kind of stuff, but it's so cool.
well, enjoy it this Friday. That's exciting. My
Thank
last
you.
question for you is if you could have lunch with anyone, deceased or alive, who would it be and why?
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, right now, top of mind, I'm going to say Jane Goodall because she passed last week and that really hit hard. I always admired her work, but something about her passing just felt like, oh man, she was such a beautiful, beautiful, and talk about someone who just stepped into their heart's work
Yeah,
and did not hold back from just moving towards it until it became, I mean, I don't think Jane Goodall set out to be the number one resource for research around human nature and chimps and all that. She just followed her heart
she
and
did.
people took notice. She just probably didn't even notice that she was getting so famous. She was too involved in her work. And I love that. I love that about her. And I would love to talk to her and just hear her full story. I wish I could interview her for my podcast. That would have been really cool.
I love that answer. It's not what I've heard. And yeah, that hit me hard too, because as animal lovers that we are, your dog passed in June. And I shared with you on the podcast I lost 2 dogs this year too. They both passed. So
Yeah.
it's been hard. And now I have a foster, which I'm loving. Yeah, she was talk about living unapologetically and authentically. I don't know that there's many, I mean, Mother Teresa, but how many people out there are really living their true calling and not doing it for the money? She did it. I mean, she became famous. I don't know what her net worth birth became, but she didn't do it with that intention. She did it because she
Yeah,
truly, like you said, followed her passion, followed with what she believed in and her love. It was a very sad day
it
when
was.
she left the earth. So
And one more thing I like to say, because I think you and I both are trying to move more towards this. But the other thing about her and people like her is that she had nothing to prove. She wasn't going out there to show everybody I'm right and you're wrong. Again, she just did her research and did her thing, and it spoke for itself. People started to say, "Oh wow, she has a whole concept and idea that's showing that it's accurate and verifiable." As somebody who grew up feeling that I wasn't enough, I was always trying to prove something, that
mm,
I was pretty enough, that I was interesting enough, that I was desirable enough. So that's again one of my greatest life lessons. Even today, I would love my work to one day where I'm just doing it for me. I don't have this sense of like, I need to get out there, I need to reach these levels. I would love to just keep investing and doing and speaking on what I believe in without anything, with nothing to prove, just doing it because those are the things that tend to take flight in for the long term. Jane Goodall, it took a while for her to actually get established and seen. It wasn't overnight. She was
right.
a world renowned, but she had a career. She died. What was she like, 80 something? And
Yeah.
and until the day that she passed, she was speaking around the world about the work that she did and her hope for humanity.
Yeah. She
Just
never
because,
stopped.
not trying to prove it, not yelling and shaking her fist at you're the problem and there's no, she just spoke about what she believes in. And I love that about her. And I aspire to that.
Well, you're on your way. So thank you for your time today, Whitney. It's been such a pleasure.
So
Thank you all
fun.
for listening to Whitney and I today, and we will see you on the next episode of the S.H.E podcast. In the meantime, and be empowered to be seen and heard.